So thank you so much for coming. Hi, Pat. So much for coming today and also for your involvement in the group in the week. And it's never, it's only the second time. I did it once in May and then we've run it again now. It's always different. It's always, I'm always amazed to see how much people are willing to share. So when people say that they're actually scared of sharing things with the world, I mean, some of you have shared some pretty deep stuff this week. So actually, you can hopefully see the power not only in community, but also in what you've got to say. Because I think the more that we can share what we know, what we think, and I've seen some of you kind of commenting on each other's posts as well. It's great. And as Sophia says, it's important to share our backstory because if we don't tell people, no one knows. Which sounds really obvious, but there's no reason why they should. So I'm afraid it is a bit of a PowerPoint this afternoon, but you don't have to be on mute. I really encourage you. Ask all your questions. I'm not on a dead, so long as I finish by 2:30. The only thing is I have long COVID, which has kind of knocked out one of my ears, so I feel like I'm deaf, but if you're shouting at me, that's fine. It's going to be a good PR story though, isn't it? The year I turned deaf. It wasn't what I saw coming for this year, but there we go. Right. Before we start, anyone got any questions, anything that they're not sure about that they've been working on over the week? Anything they want to say, any breakthroughs? Feel free. Sophia?
Oh, I don't mind. I never put the hands up when I train. It's so funny. But I think one of the key things I got this week is it's so important to have clarity in terms of how you could help people. Because you know me for a while, haven't you, Natalie?
Yeah.
I've gone through different sorts of reinventions and I'm a polymath. So it means I've got lots of different skill sets. The struggle I have is how do I express it clearly to people that they go, instantly. I get that because someone's telling me the other day that with selling, for example, their top seller, that people make their mind up in 40 within 40 seconds. We'd having a conversation. I didn't even realize how small
Yeah.
it is. So you can imagine if you're not very clear or you don't know how you can help people. And now I feel, thanks a lot, Natalie, because we
Okay.
worked with each other before, but I think one of the big things is getting clear because look, now it's easy for me to now do my PR than before because people always say, okay, it was easy my travel side. That's
Yeah.
very simple to share. I'm a travel expert. I could talk about that, but the other stuff, so it's really good, to understand you and your backstory because I realize I've helped a lot of people in terms of careers, career coaching, even my teaching. So
Yeah. And I
that's
think it's
one
also
of the
important
things.
to remember that if it's so this is just a week. And you
Yeah.
can pivot when you can change, but sometimes just to kind of re-clarify. And there's no way, I mean, I don't think we have any super young people on this call today. There's no point, no way that we can get to this point in our careers or our businesses where we can only do one thing. And I think sometimes it's so easy to worry, well, I've got to tell them that I did this when I was 6 and I did this when I was 7 and I've got this qualification. So we do have to be. Oh, I'm not sure where that noise is coming from. I think I've done it. That's fine. Um, just so that you can all hear. But I think it's important that we don't think we're going to miss anything because once you've got your main thing, kind of what do you want to be known for? We're going to talk about that today. It's kind of like it would be like going on a first date and sitting down and like telling the person everything that's happened to you since you were born. They'd be like, oh my God, I just really wanted to know whether or not you were a vegan. So it's it's being able to pull that out and know who you are, what you do, how you can help now. And you might say in January, well, I tried that and it didn't really work. So we're just trying to kind of get you into the point of, and I also, as I do the presentation today and as I talk to you today, I kind of want you to, I want you to know that what you're saying in your PR. This is really, really important. If you take nothing else away from today, and it's something I've kind of worked with people on and off for a long time, actually, what you are saying to a newspaper reporter is kind of what you need to start with at the beginning of your business. because that's your external communications. All of this work, all of this press work, all of your social media, everything is about what you are saying to the outside world. So if you decide that you're suddenly going to make your press this last bolt on and it's something extra, we've kind of missed the mark. And that is a piece that I often find that is missing. It's almost like start with the PR. Start with what is it you are saying, because that is going to filter through not only to your press releases, it's going to filter through to your website, it's going to filter through to every networking event. Because if you say to someone at a networking event, I make dog food, but you actually have a cat food business, it's not going to work. So we almost have to think of the headline before we do anything else to bring it all together. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen, she says, hopefully. Please ask questions as much as you can. Can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I still have nightmares of that time I did a whole 2 hour vision board session with the first slide on the screen. No one
Oh.
told me.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to do the slideshow. Okay, so welcome. And I think we have actually got people from all over the world because I've just seen my lovely friend Nicole turn up, who is in Dallas, I think. So let's go. Thank you for joining today. You did it. You did it. It's only been a week, but it has been every evening. I have sat down during my day. I've watched you comment. I've watched you put these through. And it's not just a list. I didn't just ask you to write a list. I actually asked you to get quite involved with what we were doing. So you've claimed your space, backed your mission, and you've chosen to be seen. And I think that is really important because lots of people don't choose to be seen. They let everyone else do it. And if you know me well, we don't want anyone else to do it. We want to do it. So that is really important. And you've given me an hour today. So I really appreciate that. You showed up, you spoke, and that matters. So today we're going to look a little bit of what you've done so far. So if you've missed any days, we'll catch up on that. You can ask your questions, you can talk to each other. And I want you to see that you are then taking your next step towards purpose with clarity and your voice leading the way. We don't need to think about it. It's so easy. We all do it. I do it. Everyone does it. We compare. We look at what everyone else is doing. That takes your eye off the prize. You want to be in your lane because, as you have seen reading all of the posts this week and writing about you, only you have the experience and the knowledge and the expertise that's within your soul. We might have GCSEs and degrees that are the same, but other than that, it's different. And you are all going to bring something very different to the table. So please remember that. So this is the space where your story becomes your spotlight, because this is legacy, not lights. So one thing I didn't do, I'm just going to tell you a tiny bit about me. There's not a slide, but just because I want you to know that I'm not making this up as I go along. So I've worked in publicity for 30 years. Before I worked in PR, I did an art history degree. I then lived in Tokyo as a teacher. And during all of that time, my stepfather had a PR agency representing people like big music events like Slash, Guns N' Roses. Phil Collins would phone our house. So PR was kind of in my blood alongside art history. Came back from Japan, needed a job, got a job temping in a PR agency, utterly useless at manning the phones, to the point where they just said, "Can you write?" Yes. So they just shoved me literally in a basement room in the Betty Crocker cupboard and said, "Can you just write some press releases?" And that was it. So I was in a West London very ab fab agency for the first 6 months of my career, and I then got made redundant. And I was like, that only happens to people's dads. So that was a learning curve. I then did a lot of tech PR. So I basically became the it girl, which was IT rather than actual it party girl. So I knew every cable consumable, camera, printer, worked for some charities, and then I spent probably 4 years working in TV. So Cartoon Network, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, TCM, CNN. It was utterly amazing, utterly feral, and certainly not conducive to being married and having a small family. So I set up my own business, I then navigated 7 years of surgery with my younger son, Lucas, who is now nearly 17. He was born without a hip socket. So from 3 months old, we were having multiple orthopedic operations to break his legs and rebuild him. Every time they did it, it didn't work. His body didn't want to play ball, so they had to do it again. So he would be stuck in plaster for up to 6 months at a time. And then when he was 6.5, they actually had to break and reconstruct his pelvis with an anaesthetic that wore off. So my hopes of a board level job in London soon became a distant memory. And as I have a busy brain, but no information about how we could actually navigate this challenge with him, and I had a toddler in tow, I decided to create what is now a global network supporting families around the world who are also either navigating this as a patient or with a child. I wrote my first book, Cast Life, and I used publicity to turn myself into an orthopedic surgeon, essentially. So when I say that you can get into the press with what you are qualified to do, that's what I'm saying. If I can use PR to get myself onto boards at Great Ormond Street and to win HIP awards and to set up the only international global support network for families dealing with this, you can do this with your coaching, with your services, all of these things. I simply had to be a mum on a mission, making a difference. So now everything I do is kind of around that idea of legacy, not likes. What is the legacy that we are leaving in this world, and how can we use, and it's a phrase that I have stood away for a long time, but this purpose-led way of communicating. I do not want you to go out there and sell your story to the Daily Star about how your dog weed on someone's leg at a bus stop, because I've seen it happen. I don't want you to tell the world that you were monstrously bullying people in a job, because that could come back and bite you on the bum. I want you to use the power of the press and all of the ways that you communicate to build something bigger than that. And I know people want to go viral, and I know people are chasing these unicorns for fame, but it lasts for a moment and then we're on to next. Literally, even when I get my clients in Forbes, I'm like, what's next? It doesn't stop. Therefore, you need to put your time, your money, your energy into creating something that is going to last, which means that when you do get those pieces of coverage, when you do get those wins, you keep talking about them, because that's not the end product. So if I'm not doing PR, I live in Devon by the sea with my husband and my sons and my dogs, and I blinking love it. And yeah, so that is me. I've got a PhD pending, a novel that really needs to get written, and a slightly dodgy ear. That's why I'm here to talk to you today, not about my ear, but to talk about everything else. So, what did we do? Your journey this week, day one, you looked at your story, the truth behind your titles. We all have titles, names, awards, all of those things, but really looking at what brought you to where you are today. So I know that had my son not been born with hip dysplasia, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would have got a job at a big agency in London and been on the board. So our stories do matter, because they show people how we have got from start to finish and how we can then help them. So if I'm talking to a client like Kezia, when she started working with me, she'd never been in the press. I know what it feels like to be vulnerable in a magazine and to be put up for scrutiny. You know, I've been told that I wrote books just to pimp my kid out. I'm like, seriously, I've got better things to do than spend 6 years in hospital as a hospital mum. So I know that vulnerability, and I would never ask or suggest you did something that I didn't think would be in your best interest. So we have your story. Then on day two, we kind of reconnected to your why and who you're here to help. And obviously we can say we're here to help everybody, and you might be here to help everybody. But again, this knowledge of who you want to help, whether you call it a persona, an ideal client, whoever it is, that's going to help your messaging so much more, especially with the press. Because again, because if you're saying, well, this is the editor of Dog World and I'm sending him a pitch about cat food, you know you've got it wrong. You're not going to connect at all. And as ridiculous as that sounds, that is often what happens with journalists in their inboxes. They get things that are just utterly pointless, Therefore, you're never going to create that connection. You're never going to build that relationship, and it just doesn't work. But it happens all of the time. You also talked about what you're going to share and what you're not going to share. And again, we come back to that kind of idea of salacious headlines. You might not want to tell a journalist at the Mail how much money you earn, and that's absolutely fine. You might not want to have pictures of your kids in the press. You might not want to talk about your mother or your ex. And I think by having those boundaries in place almost at the beginning, before you say what you do want to talk about, gives you some power as well. Because you know, if you saw an opportunity that said, well, you can be in Forbes, but you've got to tell us exactly how much you spend every month, and we want to know about your childhood, you'd be like, I'm not doing that. So it actually makes it easier for you to make those decisions when opportunities do come along. But then also thinking about what you are going to share. And I always say this is a bit like an onion, because even if you were to listen about the things that I was talking about, there's so many things. So, being a mother of a child with a complex condition, being a hospital mum, being an author, being a PR, having moved there's lots of different facets of my work and my life that I can share, but I choose which ones I keep out of the public eye as well. So having that list can actually be really helpful for you just on a daily basis, because that's also going to come down into your social media. It's going to be what you put in your newsletters, and it's going to be the content that appears on your website. So this isn't press exclusively, this is all of your external comms. And again, networking, when you go to a live networking event, when you're in the queue in Starbucks, all of these things, it just makes it so much easier because you're always saying and doing the same thing without having to think about it. So you ideally think we had one day a couple of years ago, we were on the beach at Christmas, and it would be really helpful now because I have a toy client. But I was talking to this guy and his wife on the beach, and it turns out he was a journalist at a toy magazine. So you never know who you're going to bump into, and you want to be able to react quickly should those opportunities present themselves. So, day 4, and I know this can be a trickier one for people. I usually know where it is because that's my job, and if I didn't know, then I wouldn't be very good at my job. But just starting to explore, and this is 4 days. I mean, I've got a 30-year career, so we've done 4 days in a Facebook group. So you've unpacked a lot. But starting to explore that idea of where your story could live and grow, where you can live and grow. And the difference between now and when I started out in PR was, although people say there's more places to be now. So I would stand by a fax machine with the quick save press release every week of the basket of the week of shopping. And there were a few papers and magazines that fax could go to. Now I'll send out hundreds of pitches every week to outlets and podcasts and newspapers and websites all over the world. We have the opportunity. We just need to have all of the other parts in place so that we can get in touch with those people that are right for us. So today we're going to write some more, we're going to claim space, and we're going to begin the next chapter. So I hope that you can kind of see how we can bring all of these different elements together. Any questions so far? I can't see everyone, so if you do have any questions, feel free to just shout out. I don't mind.
I have a question to ask you, Natalie.
Yes, please.
So, with the press, because I'm just thinking back to what I've learned in the past. So now, I know I'm focusing on one area. Would
Hmm.
it be good to make use of my Readly subscription and do some research in terms of articles? So, does it seem like
Absolutely.
I'm doing a duplication? Because now we're
Don't,
coming
yeah,
up to Christmas, and now I realise if my Reinvention Navigator, the one I'm launching soon,
yeah,
it could be a good, Christmas gift for people going into the new year because it's
yeah.
helping people think, okay, this is what I want to do. What are practical steps? I
And
might be
also
doing
things like how to
that.
set goals at New Year, not to put so much pressure on New Year. So all of those things. And
Mhm.
the other thing I would say to you, but to everybody, don't discount what you've done in the past. So those contacts that you've had in the past, they might be interested in what you're doing now. So we don't always have to start from scratch. It's just simply we're looking at it from a slightly different angle. So when you said about that reinvention, my thing as well is there'll be lots of stuff about how to reinvent yourself for a Christmas party that you don't really want to go to, or how to set your goals for next year. So there's lots of ways that you can be creative and to tune into those things. But yes, anyone that's helped you in the past, then just let me know. Oh, Amy had pelvic surgery. Oh gosh, yes. There's not a lot I don't know about hips and pelvises and reconstructions. And there is also a really good Facebook group if you want to go into it with thousands of people that are navigating the same thing.
Oh,
But yes, okay, so what you need to know is that this isn't just about magazine pages and radio interviews. This is about sharing your story with intention. It's about connection, impact, and legacy. And I know Pat's here on the call today, but the way that I framed this particular session is just to be say, when one woman speaks up, she opens doors for others to do the same. And I really believe that, because otherwise we all sit there thinking it's just us, and it's not. You know, what Amy just said about her reconstructions, it's not. And this is how we create change, one story at a time. When I was doing the hip work, my mother helpfully told me that she'd met women like me before trying to change the world. My whole thing is they're not people like us trying to change the world. The world isn't going to change. And it is certainly a place where, even more so than 17 years ago, we need some change and we need some hope and we need change makers to come out there and to help people get to where they want to be, which is what you are all doing. So please remember that. It's not fluff, it is power. So the question, what journalists look for? Journalists foremost are people like us. They are busy, they have very busy inboxes, they have tight deadlines, they have a lot of stuff coming into them that is not relevant. You can make yourself indispensable to journalists by giving them what they want and what they need when they need it. And that is really, really important. They need something that is relevant to their story. So here we have some examples. So I sometimes I do writing, so I get emails from PR people. I'm a size 8 to 10, I've got teenage sons, and I live in the middle of nowhere, but I will still get PR sending me press releases about plus size clothing, prams, and Ubers. You can't research everyone, but if you do your job well, you will at least make contact with journalists in outlets that are slightly relevant. So we have to do that research. And even as an agency owner, I do a lot of research for my clients. It doesn't just happen. So they want something that is relevant to their particular audience. Timely hooks and angles. So if you are in my membership, you'll see that at the beginning every month I give you a whole list of days and events that are coming up, but also just tuning into, if you can bear it, you don't have to, the news, because we can tune into those things. But I know at the moment that is heavy, so we don't always have to do that. They want expertise. You have all shown this week that you are experts in your field. You've done the work, you've done the qualifications, you've got the information, so you have the expertise. And you only have to look in places and see that there are people who are not as qualified or trained or as experienced as you, and yet they are still getting the media wins because they're putting themselves out there. They want real human stories. So they want your stories. They want to know how you went from a high profile job at IBM to running a chicken farm. You know, that's what they want. If you look through magazines, what are they talking about? They're talking about how people got from A to Z. Again, the boundaries of how you got there, you don't maybe want to share them all, but that's what they're looking for. Images. So we have Rachel here with, and I know she's a great photographer, so try and have images. They do make a difference. Journalists will always say, have you got images? So even if it's one good headshot or one good product shot, that's going to be helpful because it can make or break stories, which sounds a bit dramatic, but it's the truth. Above all, they want something that's real. So we've touched on this. They want your lived experience. They want your insight, and purpose can help you create the stories that matter. So that's what they're looking for. The way they're looking for, I can teach you, but that's essentially what they need to convert your email or the way that you contact them into a page in their magazine or newspaper or website or blog or whatever it might be. So that is what they look for. How do we reach them? We reach them by sending them a pitch. I'm just checking that I've got everything. I was like, oh my God, I have got everything. So I have people here that I've worked with, like Kezia, who has become a master in pitching. Pitch, I don't want to give you tons and tons of jargon today, but lots of journalists don't want you to phone them. I hate phoning journalists. I've done it I hate it. Email has been a great invention. They expect to be contacted essentially, unless they're in a busy newsroom at the Sun or the Times, by email. So when I say we're going to send a pitch, we are literally sending them an email to say, I'm here. Do you want to write about me? That's it. So it's almost like going to a networking event and going up to a group of, sorry, I'm going to shut this door. Going up to a group of people and introducing yourself and saying, I'm Natalie, I'm a PR person, do you want to talk to me? Which feels utterly terrifying. So the fact that you're only having to send an email to someone you probably don't know who might not come back to you isn't really that scary. That's what we do. We have to pitch them. We have to let them know, because we're not the Beckhams. They're not coming looking for us. We don't have paparazzi on our doorsteps. We actually have to let them know all of the stuff that you have been doing this week so they can consider whether or not they want to cover your story now or in the future. And we can come on to that. But if you don't tell them that you exist through an emailed pitch, they're not going to know that you're there. And that really is the main thing. And it's that simple, or is that hard? Like, I've just got to write an email. I've just got to send that out to somebody. So I'm just going to check the questions. Okay, so yeah, so here we go. I'm going to give you an example of a pitch before we go on to the next bit. I'm going to talk about this bit first. So there's a bit of a formula to doing this, and I actually think that the main thing is don't overthink it and don't put too much in your email. So I always talk about my poor friend Gail. So Gail now works at Apple, but she used to be the editor of Take a Break magazine. So the fastest selling, biggest circulation women's weekly magazine in the UK. And I asked her one day, how many emails in your inbox? Just under 18,000, which made me feel sick. But also, how do we break through that noise? We give them what they want and we make it easy and we keep it kind of clutter free. And I didn't always know Gail, so I'd love to know, I can't remember which email I used or what the headline was, but to break through that noise, we need to be seen in their inbox. So it's kind of like you could spend ages writing an essay and they're not going to read it because they simply do not have the time. So that's absolutely fine. I will share these slides with you all afterwards and you will get the transcript from this call. So don't worry about beavering away writing too much. I will give it to you. But if that's how best you learn, that's also fine. So we want to use the subject line to stand out in an inbox. So if you send an email that says pitch, they are not going to do it. So I'm going to give you an example that worked well recently that I did. So I have a client called Richard in America, and he is a parenting expert, and he had this does work. I've got two examples. So he had a book that came out called The Art of Step Parenting, and at the beginning of September, it was Step Parenting Day. So we wanted to get him some decent coverage. We had a press release, but I wanted something more. So I went and used Perplexity. So it's an AI research tool. And I looked up journalists that were step parents. So it gave me step parents. I went onto Instagram and I found one of them because she worked at CBS in California, which is where Richard lives. It wasn't that she was a step parent. It was that she had Jack Russell with his own Instagram account. So my subject line in her inbox was actually, don't you love it when your Jack Russell gets in your suitcase for vacation? My pitch, when I said who I was, I didn't say I was a PR. I said I was also a Jack Russell mama, but mine were crossed with a Chihuahua and a Spaniel, and they were feral. Then I said, actually, what I'm coming to talk to you is about Richard, who's a step parent, and it's Step Parenting Day on Wednesday. He's got a new book. I wondered if you'd be interested in coming on the show. I mean, this is a million to one. This is CBS in Los Angeles. And then I told, so the key message or experience. He's got a book. It's Step Parenting Day. You're a step parent. Why now and why them? Again, Step Parenting Day tomorrow. We know Step Parenting Day is step parenting is hard. There's millions of step families in America with something like 2,300 forming every day. So there was a compelling reason why they could talk about this. My call to action was Coco and Dottie, my dogs, hope your dog Sparky have a pawsome day. I sent that I sent that pitch on Sunday night. On Tuesday morning, he was on the sofa with the journalist in the newsroom, live on KCAL. Now that's a slight extreme example, but can you see how much work went into, like, I want that piece of coverage. I want that sofa for my client, and this is how I'm going to do it. The subject line was clear. It might not have been relevant, but it was certainly clear and timely. I told them who I was. It wasn't totally human, it was based on dogs. The key message was very clear. Richard's experience was clear. He had a book, he could bring it on the show. We left it on the show. Why now? That was clear. And the next steps. He can come in and speak on the sofa. The next morning, I get a call from her runner to say, can you get Richard in for tomorrow morning? Absolutely. That was it. So there was a lot of work that kind of went into that, and it doesn't always, but it kind of shows you what they are looking for. It was relevant because I made that human connection with her, with the journalist. We wanted the human connection. That was really, really key to that piece of work. We did another one, which was for mood bears. Now this one was a different way. That's why these presentations are never ever the same if you watch them with me. So the other one was actually that a journalist was looking for a story. So they were inviting pitches. They were looking for educational toys because it was back to school. So most people, I'm looking at the feature that came out, it was for this morning, so it was Ben Shepherd and Kat Deely. Most people were sending in Lego, wooden toys, books. My subject line said teaching children, I think it was teaching children big emotions with mood bears, and how mood bears were great for helping children and adults get in touch with their emotions and learning how to self-regulate. They came back. Not only did they didn't have one bear, they had all of the bears on the sofa with all of the books. And it was it's like the main part of the feature and the segment. Why now? Why now? Because mental health is in a crisis and a lot of children cannot get access to the support they need. You can pick up a mood bear in Sainsbury's or Asda. Next step, do you want us to send them? Yes, please. I said to the client, I don't care if you get in a cab and go from Brighton to the studios and get the bears there. And that's how that happened. So that's two ways. One was finding a journalist that I knew could potentially use the story and we would get the coverage. And both of those cases, not only did they have the live TV, but it then also was turned into online coverage on ITV and KCAL, and also put on KCAL and CBS's YouTube channels, which is why I'm saying there's longevity in these things. They don't just happen once, it's how you then utilize them, the legal way, over and over again to reinforce your story. So that is your pitch formula. You've literally got, if you think about when you get an email, and I get hundreds a day, how much do you read? I mean, I will literally scan it very quickly before I delete it. And that might be journalist requests coming into me from my done for you clients, or it could be spam or school. And I will know instantly, am I keeping this or not? Because if I'm not, it's going. And a journalist is exactly the same. Is your subject line clear, relevant, and timely? Or does it stand out? That I would say is key. And then keeping it short and sweet and relevant. Why you? Why now? If nothing else, why you? Why now? So this one here that I've got is it's a little bit long, but it gives you an idea. And I'll share this with you afterwards. But you still got a subject line. How hustle culture nearly broke me. So someone's broken. We're talking about hustle. The journalist might be a freelance journalist that also is feeling a bit broken and hustled. So there's lots of things that we can consider with these angles and with these stories. There's a big thing about, do you say, I hope you're well? I would never just go up to someone at a networking event and say, oh, do you want to talk to me? So it's a similar thing going into someone's inbox who you don't know. I'd love just like, do you want to write about this person or this story? So I actually say now, how's your day going? Because I'm asking them a question. So it's almost like, and it does work, bizarrely. Um, and this is an example. This is just something that I made up. It's not something that I've ever sent, but the connection is Stress Awareness Month. So this woman has talked about her experiences, as we've done in the group this week, about how she recovered from burnout and redefining success on her own terms. So she climbed the corporate ladder, which we know lots of people do, burning out, breaking down, pushing through, and then walked away. So she's reset her life. And looking also at those cultural patterns. So you could tighten this up quite a lot. I would maybe change this month for Mental Health Day. It could be something like the mental health day that changed my life. This time 4 years ago on Mental Health Day, I quit my job, left my husband, and went and joined a circus in Africa to re-find myself. And that's a bit extreme, but that's the tie-in, that's the story, that's the connection. And all of us have these things, and you're giving a very quick snapshot. How does this slide translate into a page in Grazia or Good Housekeeping or on the stylist website? How often do we see those stories? I went to work, handed my notice in, it's the best thing I ever did. This stuff is done on repeat every day. We're just kind of honing in on what your story is, what the angle is. So you're giving them almost this mini story, this mini kind of revision of who you are and what you do and how it could help them. So again, we've got the subject line, making it human. The one thing I would say, if you can find their name, use it. Don't use an abbreviation. Don't say hun. Don't put kisses at the end of your pictures. All of those things, because they don't care. And the more kind of corporate business type outlets, even more so. If you build up, I have journalists that are friends now, and or WhatsApp, but at the beginning, this is just a very first professional encounter. So you want to make the right impression the first time. So it's a little bit like, do you remember when you had to keep a news book at school? And on a Monday you went to school and you wrote your news? It's a bit like that, but for journalists. So that's essentially what your pitch is. I'm just going to check the questions because I think there was. So that's great. Amy's gone. Okay. Any questions while we're at this bit? Well, that's not clear or
Yeah, this is
oh,
really interesting, Natalie, because I get lots of ideas, and
good.
me coming from the tech background is I could see how I could use also AI to assist
Yes.
a little bit, in terms of key dates, because sometimes there might be a date for something, like for example, Siblings Day. I'm just making this
Yeah.
up randomly, where no
Uh-huh.
one would know when that day is, and then they can link
Yeah.
something to do
Yeah.
with that. And with my home reinvention. And what you mentioned about journalists, because I know a lot of journalists, is I've seen in recent years how some of them are finding it stressful. They're leaving the
Yeah.
industry because it's becoming not sustainable. And then I think about what I'm doing with a reinvention navigator, although in a sense it was born, from hearing all of this, from different people and
And
how,
you could also kind of tie into the positive. There's a lot of
yeah,
negative coverage of AI, but you could actually
yeah,
kind of create a story about the positive impact of AI.
yeah, I
And
do.
also being a woman in tech, that's another angle that. you potentially would have there.
Yeah, there is positives because I've seen it, even people in my background training when I've gone to tech events, which happen throughout the year, saying, I don't want to hear anything about AI, but it's here, things do change, and
Yeah.
it's good and
Yep.
bad for everything.
Yep. Yep. So Dana's saying, yep, t all of those things to learn the thing that I say, and I am passionate about this because obviously it's my job and it's my business. It's like an onion. Once we start unwrapping all of these things, these kind of new ideas will come together, and you will start to see how all those little elements that I've been asking you to look at this week will join the dots. It's a bit, Rachel, like your virtual shoot. So you could be anywhere in the world and have a new photo, and maybe that is a positive impact of COVID. So it is it is training your brain to be creative, to think, how does my story fit into the right place in a way that might not be conventional. I wouldn't say I'm a particularly conventional PR, but one of my first clients was a boiler company. And my boss, who was brilliant but harsh, was like, we need to get this into decorating magazines, not builders and merchants. And so we had to look at how you can make your boiler look aesthetic. So it's that way of doing it. So that's your formula. I'm going to say I don't know, just have, see if you can just have a moment while we're here, because I want you to see, looking at this example, and you'll get the slides afterwards and all the transcripts and the recording and everything. But just even if you could think about one story that's come from what we've done this week, what could that headline be? And I will set you some homework in the Facebook group this week to actually write your whole pitch. I don't think we have time today. But yeah, just thinking about what is that headline for you?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it, Sophia. It looks like you have a lot in common with me. And I've go through a lot of coaches. And if a message like mine and several of you is just for women, and then you have to be on stage in front of men too, and then like my stuff applies to anyone,
Yep.
but yet I pick a lane for women. And
Hmm.
I just keep going like back and forth. Like I'll change my message because I'll be on a stage where there's an audience of men and women mall and then go back to women and I just sit in this space of like, am I playing too small if I just go to women? But then media is saying, yes, pick a
What?
lane. So I struggle with that and would love to
Yeah.
just hear your thoughts.
I think that the way that I come from that is, what is the golden thread? So we talk about, what do you want to be known for? Regardless of person, sex, age, any of those things. So if you think for a long time, if anyone's granny, budgie, dog had anything wrong with its hip, I would get a message for ages. And I've had to undo that because I essentially turned myself into the hip lady. So what I want, I know it was not,
It's
again,
because you're so hip,
no, it
Natalie.
was totally, again, for the wrong reason. It was not because I was hip, it was because of that. But what is the, so now what do I help people do? Get into the press with purpose and intention. That's essentially, it doesn't matter whether or not you are the Menopause Society, whether you're Mood Bears, whether you're your guys. I give you the guidance to tell your story for legacy and impact. So it's almost like, what is that? What is that thing? We talked about it at the beginning, that you can then, and there will be times when you have to speak to an audience, you're at an event where you've got to change it very quickly. But if you know your thing so well, so clearly in and out, you can switch it. I get people in the press for legacy, not, cheap thrills. That's it. Doesn't matter who they are. I'll tell them the same thing, the same thing. And I would hope that through all of my external comms, if anyone said we need to get in the press, someone would say, well, you need Natalie. So it's and I think this can be tricky because we can become so fixated with who we are and what we do. And we feel like we have to tell all the stuff because we might lose something. So there will be times when you have got to bring it down a little bit. But what is that thread? And I think that's so with Kezia and your all your work, you know, all the stem cell Russia, all of those things, you give people hope. That's what you do. And to distill that can take a little bit of time, and you're never going to do it in 5 days. But what do you want to be known for? So you almost become. So if you look at Richard, this is an example of Richard, and he was on KCAL and he was on something else last month about the FBI. And then actually a journalist from GB News in the UK found him on KCAL and came to me and said, can we interview him for his perspective? It was the same thing. And it's consistency. It is consistency of like, what are you putting out there? Which is why I say whatever you put out in your press releases should already exist. Yes, press release is news, but you're not reinventing the wheel. You're talking about what you already do. You're just amplifying it from the Village Hall to Wembley Stadium. And that's what we're doing. So trying to get clear on that thing. What is that thing that you do? And only you do it in your way. And that will make a difference as well.
Natalie,
Yes.
could I just say, I've just had a light bulb moment. So thank you to, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. You're just as Tech Diva for asking that question. Because I'm a tutor, an online tutor, and I teach everybody. I've got 4-year-olds up to 60 somethings, and people have always said, oh, you need a target audience. But I like the variety of teaching everybody. I don't want just exam kids. I don't want just adults. I don't want just children. I like having every lesson is different. So
Yeah.
I've really struggled with that because I thought I don't want to put myself in a niche. But just listening to you then, thinking, what do I want to be known for? It actually, I don't know if this sounds too fluffy, but
No, no.
I've just written down, I build confidence with languages, not perfection.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter
Absolutely.
how old the person is then, and it doesn't matter whether they're sitting an exam, it doesn't matter whether they get the tense correct. If they communicate and they're happy with what they're saying,
Yeah.
that's what I help them to do.
Yeah.
So thank you, because I've struggled with this. I set my business up 2.5 years ago and I've struggled with this, and it just came to me then. So thank you both for that.
Yeah. I love that. And I think your niche, that is your niche, not
Yeah,
the person.
not the age or why they're learning it, it's the
It,
confidence.
because then if you think about that, you could do anything from Times Education Supplement talking about how we get kids to embrace language to Saga magazine. And
Yeah,
it's never too late to learn Spanish when you go to Fuengirola.
yeah,
And that and
yeah,
that is the beauty of it, of like you're changing your niche the other way round.
yes. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
That's brilliant.
Oh,
I'm so
amazing.
relieved. I finally got a niche.
That makes me so happy. Brilliant. Okay, so I will set that. Any more questions? Because sometimes it's actually your questions that are probably the most valuable thing because someone else is thinking about it. No. Okay, so I'm going to give you homework. I didn't do this, so I don't think I did this with the last session. This weekend, because the Facebook group is still open, I'm gonna get you to write a pitch. If you write your pitches, I will look at them. Because I'm having a quiet weekend apparently. So I'm going to put that in there afterwards. But more than any of this, and I'm a big, big believer in this, this is your mindset. All of this is your mindset because visibility is a choice. It's not a reward. Every single thing you write on social media, everything you're too scared to put in an application or an award submission, everything you're a bit tentative about sharing on your website is your visibility, is your PR, is what journalists are going to look at when they Google you because they will. So we have to get our mindset in gear for all elements of all of our communications. That is really, really, really important. The media isn't a fortress, it's a platform. You know, I talk about in my book, PR School, we can be our own media makers. We live in a time where you can have a Substack, you can have a blog, you don't need someone else's permission to be seen. But if you want to be seen in places that are bigger than your platforms, you have to be willing to take the risk. And I think that's the thing that can stop us from going forwards. The worst thing that someone can do is delete your email. And you're not even going to know they did it. So I spend my entire life being rejected. I send a lot of pitches. Like one of the people that works for me, she's like, you send a lot of emails. But when I get those big ones, when I get any of them, and don't forget, just because a journalist doesn't reply today, it doesn't mean they're not going to come back to you. Kezia knows this. Sophia knows this. I know this. They may come back to you. That this morning story that I told you about, it was a week and I nearly missed it. So it happens. We just have to have patience. You don't need permission. You just need to begin. And you began this week by coming here, by doing that. You don't need permission from anyone. Your brother, your mum, your dad, your partner, no one at all. You just need to start, because there will be someone out there in Stylist who's done a 29p Centre of Excellence course calling themselves a Feng Shui expert when you really are. And that is the truth. So it's being brave enough to own your experience and your expertise, and you're not too late. You are right on time, because I always believe that these things come to us when we're ready, and it's a big step. It's a big step asking a question here, putting that stuff out. But every single person I've seen in that Facebook group, and I look at all of them, there's no one monitoring those for me this week in there. You've all got something amazing to talk about with a place to be, but you have to remember that you matter. I remember that 29p Centre of Excellence course, because they really, really annoy me. But that is the thing. And a 10% edge. So I did a course a couple of years ago with Amy Porterfield, and her whole thing was, have you got a 10% edge on the person that's reading it? Probably. You've probably got more, because it's your lived experience and it's what you've done, it's what you've seen and what you've built. So all of those things. So you made it. You made it to Friday. You made it to this. But obviously, it's a webinar and I want you to keep going, and I have something for you. So I am going to share how you can carry on. That Facebook is left open, so you can go back and take your notes. I really would copy your notes if you can and put them into a Google document or somewhere where you can, because essentially, without even realizing it, you've built a lot of a business plan within that. You've built your ideal audience. You've built your key messages. You've looked at your media. You've actually created something in there that you didn't realize, which is why it's not just a tick box experience. But we want to actually use that and keep you going. And if you can do it on your own, then that is absolutely brilliant. And there's never any pressure. But if you do want to carry on, you can join the Legacy Press Lounge, which we have revamped and revised, and we have bought it out. So Kezia has been in my membership for a while. Sophia has been in it before. Claire is in it. I think Michelle is in it. It's not just tick boxes. So we have 2 live sessions a month. One is a teaching session. So I have also taught at master's level. I've lectured in universities, and I am also actually a qualified coach, because in COVID I didn't want to make banana bread. So I did train for 7 months to be a qualified coach. So I mentor you. I teach you more of this stuff. I teach you how to write your press releases, how to pitch, how to sharpen them up. We have templates, we have tools. At the beginning of every month, I give you all of the awareness days that are coming up for that month. And again, those awareness days feed not only into your PR, but that is the foundation of your social media activity as well. And it's also kind of what is going on, so that you are more aware that if you read a magazine like Grazia, actually my story could appear in that box, or my expertise could be used in that section, or Medium, or Authority, or wherever it might be. I do have guest speakers lined up for the rest of the year. And again, this is encompassing all of your external comms. This isn't isolating press releases. This is how you can bring together everything you're doing from your website to your networking and impact, so that you create your legacy. It's a community. So we have people that go off and do things together. Kezia is a great advocate for the community, and things that she has done is simply astonishing. I'm actually going to share in the group after this. We did it was going to be a live, but it ended up being like a chat show YouTube video, and actually talking about what she has achieved, which is incredible. For someone who was meant to not be able to walk today, she jumped out of an aeroplane in August to raise money and show people that a diagnosis is not the end of the world. Truly just an amazing human being. Brainstorming, so if you need help, there's media opportunities. So we had someone, Lauren, who did the challenge last time. So since then, she's been on BBC Radio, BBC Essex, The Telegraph. She had a meeting with a local magazine this week. You have to do the work. That is the thing. It's like anything. It's like I can be your personal trainer for all things comms, but we have to put the work in to build those muscles, which is why there's community, there's momentum, there's a check-in on a Monday to see what you're doing. I can give you feedback. You'll also get discounts on events. You get results. You will get results if you do the work, if you're consistent, if you are confident, and you're ready to start your journey. That is the QR code. And I have done all of this myself. I don't know
Well
because
done.
my sister has been traveling this weekend. So my sister works for me and she's amazing, but she lives in the States half the time, which is great because when I'm asleep, she's picking up my clients in the US as well. So we are fully global, fully international. So the press lounge is £49 a month. You can cancel at any time, or you can join for a year. You can join quarterly, and you can also join for the whole year for £4.99, so you get 2 months free. No month is ever the same inside the press lounge. It is not, and I hate the word cookie cutter. It is not a cookie cutter process. It is me. It is me inside there. I deliver the trainings, I give you the feedback, I give you the help, and I cheer you on. So that is the press lounge, and I will share this afterwards. But you can also, and I don't know where this slide has gone. I don't know what this is, and I knew not everything would work all once. That's my physio. You can also get me to do it for you. That slide isn't here. If you do not have the inclination and you do not want to do your PR yourself, I do offer done for you services where we will literally come in and we will take it over. Kezia, I think you worked with me last year,
Yeah.
and we did 3 months and totally kind of kick-started your magazine journey. And so that is another option. I will put that link as well in there. So you can do it on your own, and I'm not going to pressure you to join anything, but I am going to say that if you like what you've done this week, well, here we go. This is done for you, Legacy Press. It's just a different QR code. So that is a questionnaire. If you're slightly interested in it being done for you, that is a questionnaire that Chloe will pick up, and we will just look at more about who you are, what you do. I very quickly know where someone belongs in the press and how we can get you there. But again, when you get into the press, regardless of whether you work with me, someone else, or you do it yourself, that is not the end part. You need to then talk about it. Please don't just snap and share because you might get fined. You need to amplify it. You need to put it in your newsletters. You need to share it at networking. You need to put it in your social media. It further cements who you are and what you do. And that is important because we don't, you can get that one piece somewhere, and actually that one piece can be enough. Because if you think about how much you could repurpose one interview in Chat or Medium or Happyful, or that piece that Richard did, the ripple effect of that one piece with Richard and what it's doing now. And we've worked together for about 9 months, so it's been a process because this is a marathon. We are on a marathon together. We are not sprinting for one thing. That is the virality that people are looking for. This is your legacy. So that is my presentation. That is my thanks and gratitude for all of you for giving me a week and an insight into who you are and what you do. Do I have any questions? And thank you. We are only 4 minutes over. That is not bad. And I didn't have a timer either. Any
Impressive.
questions, any feedback, anything I could have done better for you, anything at all that I can help you to bring your, and I think that I want to talk about that community thing as well, because I see Dan is here, who I've never met, but he knows Richard. And I met Richard in Los Angeles last year, where I also met Nicole. And we went to an event together. And so it just shows, I've got your thing up on my wall. You're on my vision wall. And it just shows how this brings people together and sparks ideas, and how one person being in one place can then create something for someone else. And I really have, if we've got just a couple of minutes, and Kezia can just tell, Kezia, just tell them a tiny bit about what you've done.
Oh my gosh. I've been everywhere. So I started working with Natalie, where she did everything for me, which was really good because I was just petrified and I thought, no one's interested in me at all. So that worked really well for me. So I would say to go along them lines and have Natalie do the initial, but that's how I
Pay
would do
her to
it.
say that. I promise you, I didn't.
No, honestly, because I was so scared. I didn't think anyone's interested in me. Do you know what I mean? I'm a single mum and I'm just sort of plodding along. And I thought people aren't bothered. And I think lots of people think that people don't care. But I think also the humanity of it is being real. And that's what sells. People being real and the truth, and that sells. But the way that I did it is Natalie did it for me. And then I joined obviously the press club. And then
But what have you achieved for yourself? Tell me two things. What have you achieved for yourself in terms of being visible? But how do you feel now about no one cares about your story?
oh no,
What
I've
has
become a bit
changed?
I've come a bit hardcore. I had to calm myself down on the coach the other day. I'm awful because people like they've been diagnosed. I was on it was a radio interview actually, and he says, well, it's all really good and you're really positive, but you've got MS, so it's inevitable that you're going to get worse. And I had to like stop myself from saying anything because he's a really nice guy. Um, but I have become a bit hardcore with people, and I have to rein myself down when people, because I see lots of people that are really poorly and they've been diagnosed with MS and they're told, basically you're told by the doctors, I won't try to go on too much, but that you're told by the doctors, there's nothing you can do. We don't know what's happened. It's inevitable that you're going to die because of this. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So I get a bit of my high horse now. But I've had like someone contacted me. They saw one of my posts just on Mib and said, will you come and do my podcast? I was like, yes.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then someone said to me, will you come and speak at the university? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a new one.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's quite exciting. But it is, I mean, this has been going on, I don't know how long, over a year, year and a half.
Over a year, I think over a year. So you've also done Metro, Mirror, Chat, Take a Break, UK Health Radio,
Pick me up,
local press.
Leicestershire Live. And then I went on to Cambridgeshire Live. I
You did
can't
your
remember when.
skydive. You did
I
your.
was, yeah.
And Kezia is someone who just came to me and said, I wasn't meant to be able to walk. She'd been to Russia for stem cells treatment, that she raised that money herself. You know, but hats off to you. I only did it for you for a little while. You have done this and you consistently find a new headline, a new angle, and you go out there and you do it. And you make me very proud.
I think the big thing that I've realized is small doesn't matter. Like I've just found a contact with someone that does a podcast and someone else that does an online thing. And so I'm contact these
Yeah.
people. Because I mean, say small, but you never know where it's going to go. And
The
some of them
ripple
end up being
effect.
massive. And it's,
Yes, it's the ripple effect of how do you use it. You are in the right place, being in that magazine or that
yeah.
newspaper or that show. That is the right audience. Is the that is the beginning. We then put it on socials, we put it on our websites, we put it through our LinkedIn. That's why I'm saying this is the legacy of press. It's
Mhm.
not a one, we don't want to be Chesney Hawks, that one minute wonder, and then it's over. You've got to keep on doing it. And that's when people will then come and find you as
Yeah.
well and invite you. And the whole thing is, why not you? My nemesis is Susan. I do not want Susan in Forbes. That's got to be me or my client. So, but if we don't let them know we're there, they can't use us. So
It's so
thank
true.
you.
No, thank you.
And thank all of you for giving me your time this week and sharing all of your stuff. As I said, I will put your homework in the group. I will put the recording in the group. The group stays open so you can always go back to it. If you have questions, use that group. If you would like to know more about how to join the club or how to work with me one-to-one, I also do coaching and mentoring individually. Please let me know. But thank you. And please don't let Susan take the limelight. You go get it for yourselves. So I wish you an amazing, amazing weekend. And thank you for joining me. And we will run this again next year, but this is the last one. So for this year, but have a wonderful weekend. And thank you so much for being amazing. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.